What's up guys, Bluddshed here, bringing you the Barbarian Raekor starter build guide for Diablo 3, patch 2.6.6 and season 18. What these videos are like survival guides. We take you from level 1 all the way up to max level endgame recommendations. The best way to start out any season is to save your challenge rift bag. As you can see here on screen, you get tons of materials, and you can unlock your blacksmith, your professions, you can buy stuff at the vendor. It opens up a lot of different options, and I'm gonna put a challenge rift bag video in the description that goes into more detail for that. The season was announced. It's gonna start on the 23rd here, coming up shortly. So you don't wanna do your challenge rift on Monday. So the challenge rift resets on Mondays midday, like around 2 or 3 o'clock-ish, depending on where you live, I guess. So anyway, don't do your challenge rift on the 19th and beyond. Save it for Friday. You can't stack bags from previous weeks or anything like that. You have to create a seasonal character and then do your challenge rift and then claim your rewards. You end up with a lot of cool stuff like blood shards, which leads us into our blood shard recommendations. So you'll be level 1, you'll have about 475 blood shards. I would definitely roll them on bracers. You have any option that you get, if you land one of them, they both have 500% multipliers attached to them. They're both really good. And Raekor Hoda, for instance, this buffs Hammer of the Ancients, or Hoda as we call it. This is used in the push build, like the best build for barb. So it's up there, right? So this is one thing that you want to go for. If you do get the Destruction, which buffs Seismic Slam, it's almost equally as good, especially while leveling. It actually has a bigger AoE radius, like a 50-yard radius. Incredible for wave clear, and they're both great starts. If you're rolling and you happen to get one of them, you can just YOLO for rings and start rolling rings. What this opens up is the Band of Might. Since you're playing a charge character like Charge Barb, Raekor is like a charge class, you get 80% damage reduction, okay? And don't forget, you can always make a level 1 character, go back and roll these again. The purpose of rolling them at level 1 is it severely limits the item pool that's available. You can see that these are the bracers available at level 1. If you wait till 70, sure, you can wear them, but the chances of you getting a good multiplier is significantly reduced, and then you have no help while leveling also. As you're leveling up on barb, at level 10 or so, you want to check the fence vendors in every town. There's one in every act, and they sell plus damage amulets and rings. It's the best thing to use while leveling up. It's going to give you the biggest increase. Also while leveling, you want to focus on red gems. Red gems in your weapon, red gem in your helm. In your helm, you get an experience boost, and in your weapon, you get that damage increase that we were talking about. Go ahead and save low-level legendaries for later, because you can put them in the cube later and get some nice legendary powers. As soon as you hit 40, don't forget that you can actually craft a level 70 two-hander with reduced, this one rolled with it, with reduced level requirement. There goes my RNG for the season. This one rolled with 25. Yeah, so since we can unlock the blacksmith fully, we can actually make level 70 items at level 40, and then hopefully you get a nice reduced level requirement by like 30, and then you can use it and bump up the difficulty significantly. Again, the challenge rift bag video in the description goes into more detail. This is just kind of reminding you, since you'll be probably using this when you're leveling. At level 61, you start getting really good Reaper of Souls gear. Keep an eye out for jewelry. You want things with double crit and double main stat is really good for barb. Getting that early game bulk, it's like almost like the basic stats are gonna carry you in those low torments. You don't really need multipliers right away. But you can see this ring doesn't have main stat, so I would actually reroll crit off and put strength, because that just does so much damage early on. You kind of muscle your way through the content basically. One stat to look out for is cooldown. So we are playing Raekor like a charge barb. There's some interesting breakpoints that I'd probably just cover right now. So if you have 0% cooldown, you have to charge 5 enemies for a furious charge to give you your cooldown back, to refund a charge, so you just don't run out and you can't charge, right? So with 0% cooldown, you have to charge 5 total enemies. So think about like 5 enemies here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'd have to charge in a line through them like that to get your charge back. So you have to kind of focus where you're going. 0% cooldown is 5 enemies. 20% cooldown is 4 enemies. 40% cooldown is 3 enemies. And then of course, with the Raekor 2-piece, you only have to hit 1 to get your charge back. So your dead zone is 2, basically. If you have 40% cooldown, that would be your first goal as Raekor, is to get to 40% cooldown. And then you only have 1 little dead zone of 2 enemies if you charge. Oh, that makes sense. Every 20%, you're getting less enemies that you need to charge to get your cooldown back. I did make a Whirlwind starter build. If you want to check it here, you can use it. Just craft mighty weapons. It's really good. And also make sure you craft mighty belts at level 70 because you can get this spell called Life per Fury Spent, and that's going to keep you alive with Whirlwind or any Hoda variation that we talked about. So if you roll for bracers and you get your bracers, I'm going to show you what to build that way. But this is just an alternate variation that I made. I thought I would share it. If I don't put it in the description, at least you guys can check it out here and kind of see what I was running with the Whirlwind variation. But this is what I would recommend. Seismic Slam is really good. And if you get those bracers, you put them in the cube. And again, if you got Hoda bracers, you would just put Hoda in the cube and then use the Hoda spell here. So this is like gonna get you to your 4-piece. So if you watched the last video with Demon Hunter, I said, even if you have to lower the difficulty, just get your 4-piece Haedrig. It's so good. And that's the same thing with Barb. The 4-piece Barb set gives you 1000% damage on charge. So your goal is just to get to your 4-piece Raekor as soon as possible. So even if you're doing normal or whatever, you can still get your 4-piece by doing normal difficulty with the Whirlwind or the Hoda or Seismic Slam variation of the build. Just get that 4-piece. I'm going to go ahead and showcase the starter build, right? Again, no Paragon, nothing beneficial in the cube except for Bracers of Destruction, which you actually don't even need to get by. Again, no Paragon whatsoever, nothing beneficial in the cube that would affect my testing. All baseline gems, and if you were doing this, you'd have a Bane of the Powerful. The first GR you do every single season, you get a Bane of the Powerful. So it's good to do just a GR1, get your Bane of the Powerful, and then now you have a 20% increased damage for like 2 minutes, right? You might have some DBs left over from your Challenge Rift bag, and you might be wondering what to do with Hope of Cain. For Barbarian, I would definitely go Mighty Weapon because you have a 50% chance to get something good. So there's 6 two-handed Mighty Weapons. The Bastion's Revered, which is a frenzy, it's bad. Blade Tribes, I'd put that in the good category. Fury of the Vanished Peak buff Seismic Slam, which is great for us, right? I'd put that in the good category. So we're 2 out of 3 right now. The IK weapon is technically good, but it doesn't directly help you right away. But the IK Raekor Barb is one of the fastest speed farm builds in the game. It's probably like top 10 or so. The Sorrow, really bad, and the Gavel's really good. This is the Hoda weapon. You can see 1, 2, 3 out of 6 are really good, with IK being on the fence depending on what other drops you get. So you have a 50% chance to get something good. I would definitely upgrade two-handed mighty weapons until you get one of these. That way you can put it in the cube, or even wear it actually. Since Raekor doesn't have a weapon to their set, you can just rock this. You can go kill Malthael like other classes to get your Reaper's Wraps and put them in the cube, and that way you have more resource for more Seismic Slams and stuff like that. Anyway, let's just jump into a T1 equivalent GR here. And what you do is you just charge in and you start slamming things. And I popped Wrath the Berserker, so we're doing a little bit more damage than we normally will. And you're gonna run out of resource. It's just kind of part of it though, right? So I guess if you had those Reaper's Wraps, it would help. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would focus on getting those bounties complete so you can get things done, right? Get it done, because it's just so powerful when you get the 4-piece. This is on T1 essentially, and you really wouldn't be here. You can charge and get more resource, and make sure you stand in your Triune rings as you get cooldown for Wrath of Berserker. You can get reduced resource cost, that way you can spam more, and you get more damage, up to 100% damage with the rings. So you can see, even with absolutely nothing, you'll be okay. It's just a matter of being focused and using the right build. So again, links and everything will be in the description. When you're thinking about early game, you want to run speeds, right? You want to do speed GRs, speed rifts. Even if you have to lower it a little bit, it's just going to be way more efficient over time. Focus on reducing your downtime while you're in town. That's why a lot of times you see streamers in Act 1, just because it's the most efficient place to be. Everything is really close by, so you can run back and forth to everything. And within the 30 seconds, the rift closes and get back into another rift. And now hold your group up or just increase your own efficiency. So you did your season journey, you got your 4-piece starter set equipped now, and you're ready to tackle the GR20 clear. At this point, I would have said, hopefully you collected enough cooldown to be at least 20%, like we talked about. 0, 20, and 40 are your breakpoints. But again, it's not necessary. You just have to charge more enemies to get your charge back, and it makes it more smoother overall. And you don't even need 40%. I just prefer it for ease of use, and it just feels better to play that way. Once you get your 4-piece, your season is basically done. You're going to be cruising and bruising the rest of the way. These pants are so white, they just stand out like crazy. So let's do our GR20 clear again with nothing in the cube and all that stuff. You'll see right away we're just going to pop our cooldowns here and charge, and then things are going to die, right? You can dump your cooldown with whatever. Again, you can use Hoda, you can use Seismic Slam, you can use Boulder Toss. It really just depends on what you have. And this is why I say Barb is the fastest start this season, is because you get going, you have mobility, you have damage, and you really need nothing. Like, there's no multiplier. We're just using the set itself. And, you know, like a lot of other classes need to have something. Once you get the other things, it's even better, right? So you can see the power that we have with the 4-piece. I'm not even using Wrath of Berserker on purpose, just to kind of show a little bit. It's pretty bananas. If you have Bandamite, remember you can make a level 1 alt, go back and roll for rings, and maybe get that Bandamite. Go up the stairs here. Maybe you go back and get that Bandamite, and then you should be able to do T10, T11, like literally with this setup right here. And then Rampage is a really good talent. I just pop Wrath. And then Rampage is a good talent also for Barb's early game, because stacking damage increase. I mean, this is just insane start. You should be like 1 to 70 almost instantly if you have Bandamite and you start getting other legendaries roll in. And I'll make sure to include push builds and speed variations with IK and stuff like that for you guys in the description. So yeah, Raekor is pretty rock solid next season. Congratulations, you just did your GR20 clear like a boss. Now you got your 6-piece set bonus. Once you get your 6-piece set bonus, it changes a little bit. You're building up your charges now to then spend your Fury on an attack. So you can charge, and then you dump your Fury. You can see we have a Raekor charge in the bottom. Increase damage on your next Fury spender. So it drops it in increments of 5. So it consumes 5 stacks. So you can stack up a bunch and then dump it. So basically you're going to be charging around and then dumping your Fury with Seismic Slam, Hoda, or Boulder Toss. Or you can go full, you know, Immortal King charge bar with it and not even have to worry about it. But you get a lot of your damage from the IK set at that point. So yeah, until you get to that point, you'll be probably using one of your bracers that you got along the way and dumping it. If you don't get bracers, you can still use Boulder Toss. It does a lot of damage. Ancient Spear Boulder Toss is great. You can use Seismic Slam. Rumble drops all your Fury. Once you drop your whole Fury tank, you're also healing that full amount also. So I'm on T7 here. This is the breakpoint. Let me go over the breakpoints on this video also. So when I'm thinking about the season and what I'm going to do with my character, I'm thinking of 3 goals: T1, T7, and T11. T1 is when set items actually begin to drop. So I try to stay at least on T1, and even if I don't want to, I can't bump it up, I just kind of stay in this area if possible. T7 allows for a 90% chance for Death's Breath to drop. You can see there's a huge jump here from 75 to 90. So you get a lot more value out of T7 than T6. And the same thing is true from T10 to T11. So there's a second, you have a 50% chance to get a second DB on T10, but if you just push it a little bit farther, you go up by 40%. So there's a 90% chance you get a second DB from T11. So I always think T1, T7, T11, and then beyond that doesn't matter, right? You just go up to T16 eventually. We got our 6-piece bonus with nothing else, no Bandamite. If we had Bandamite, I'd probably go to T11 territory very soon. Let's jump into a T7 Rift. You're gonna charge and then just dump on elites right there. And there you go. I didn't want to die, but we got by. You need to hit those enemies too. We only have a 20% cooldown, so that would be one of my goals too, early game, is to hit that 40% cooldown breakpoint. Dump. Here, I'll just die. They just got eviscerated actually. Still got our charges here, but there we go. I have a bad map, but it's realistic testing, I suppose. Let's look for at least one elite to blow up. Here you go. Goodbye, elite. Because we had those charges saved up, you know? You can see 1, 2, 3. You can actually dump it with only 1 charge. It just depends on the difficulty you're on, right? So you can actually one-shot it. Let me find one more elite for the road here. I'm going to build up my charges. I have 6. I'm going to save 1 for some unsuspecting elite. I found one, but it's a full blue pack here, so there it is. Boom. I was like, it's a blue pack, but that works, I suppose. And that's basically what you do, charge and then blow them up. This is what it's gonna look like a Raekor Hoda endgame push build. So we have those bracers that we've been talking about, Cassius belt, the slender little rogue. It's kind of like a classic Raekor barb. In the cube, you're gonna use the new Mortix brace item that got added to the game. It's gonna give you tons of tankiness, lots of bulk, in addition to the Band of Might. So this is kind of like a mock-up. If you, again, Seismic Slam, you use the Seismic Slam bracers, the Seismic Slam weapon instead of the gavel here, and you'll be good to go. One of the best speed variations you can build with Raekor specifically is using the IK set with Raekor, like a classic charge barb. I'd utilize the new flavor of time in the build, and you basically just charge around. Your Vile Ward crushes everything, the standoff gives you damage based on movement speed. I'll include all this in the description, of course. If you want to play Raekor until you get your Whirlwind set, that's totally fine too. Whirlwind sets is a beast at farming T16 this season. They get the Captain Crimson set, the Flavor of Time, and they can utilize the Echoing Fury. So if you see things missing in the cube, Diablo fans just hasn't updated yet. So just check the description for like I'll just put in the description what's missing, right? You can push with this. It's pretty powerful. It should be up there with IK Hoda and Raekor Hoda and stuff like that. It's just we'll have to see how it shakes out. But I think it's in the same ballpark. They really take advantage of the new items. Overall, I'd say Barb is a great start to the season. You're used in basically every speed comp in the game. Everyone loves barbarians. They can spawn globes for necromancers. They keep people alive and scout at a high level. They can even be used in like Veer speed comps. Sadly, you're not going to be DPSing, but at least you're part of the party and you can farm your Paragon, use that Paragon on your Barbarian. I guess the good news is you only compete against other Barbarians on the leaderboard, so there's that little saving grace. There's a lot of different options. You can play Raekor Hoda, IK Hoda, Charge Barb, Leapquake Barb, which we didn't talk about, is really good. Actually, a lot of variation. There's like 3 Barb builds in the top 10 right now, I believe. So I only expect it to get better next season with Whirlwind getting buffed. Thank you guys so much for watching, supporting, liking the videos. YouTube likes lately. So if you can like the video, if you liked it, then that's good. If you didn't, then downvote the hell out of it. Make sure to support on Patreon or check it out where all my build pages. The builds are free for everybody. You can follow me on Twitch, subscribe on Twitch if you want to support. Thanks for everything. Again, this is the Bluddshed. I'm back to making more videos. I'm out of here. Peace.